The only thing that I didn't like about the role that I played as a cop was we all had our name tags, name badges, and my name was Harry Balls. My name is Jack Louden, and I am a photographer, a musician, and also an extra in a Apple TV series that's supposed to be airing spring of 2023, and it's called Bad Monkey. So I called up a buddy of mine, Chad Newman. He's the film director for The Keys, and I asked him if he knew anything about it. So he sure did, and he hooked me up. The series is based on a Carl Hiaasen book called Bad Monkey. Stars Vince Vaughn, and he's a pretty tall guy. The extra they had there, he was just about the same height. Yeah, he was a super nice guy, and I was coming out after shooting one of the scenes, and Vince was coming out of one of the trailers, and I says, "Hey man, how's it going?" And he says, "Good." And I said, "I'm nice to meet you." And he said, "Very nice to meet you." Just real pleasant, down to earth, kind of guy. Of course, there's always, fans once word gets out. There's tourists and people that want to see that. Did 9 episodes. They finished up filming this past summer, so that was cool. But I had no idea of how big these productions and how many people they use. And they were very safe. This was during COVID, so they were very safe. All of us had a test negative before we were allowed on the set every time. I had some interesting scenes in it. It was a Monroe County sheriff. There actually did have some Monroe real sheriffs in there, but of course I was not. We were in full uniform, and we had to carry the holster and the gun, the whole 9 yards. The only thing that I didn't like about the role that I played as a cop was we all had our name tags, name badges, and my name was Harry Balls. So I was not thrilled with that name, but anyhow, I wore it and wore it well. So we had some interesting events, long all-nighters they called them, because we would get there about 7 or 8 at night, and we would film into the early morning hours. One of the locations was down in Key West at the Half Shell Roll Bar. It was a wonderful opportunity to meet a lot of different local people. Yeah, this shoot at Half Shell, we were not on camera at the time, and there were about 10 of us. And so I was just walking around with my buddy Russell, and we were talking, and all of a sudden we hear the producer yelling out and screaming, and he said, why do they have guns on them? You know how people don't like cops these days. Take those guns away from them. So we were kind of like panic stricken that he was kind of freaking out on us. So that was one incident that was kind of memorable. We was up on Long Beach Road, which is on Big Pine Key, and it's a beautiful, that's part of, as a photographer, I like to go back in there and capture some wildlife. So we were there one night, and the end of the book, not to give it all away, but I can tell you a little bit about, TV production company had built a house facade on the beach, and at the end, this house facade ends up getting burnt down to the ground. So they had to set all this up. We had real Monroe County firefighters there to help if there was a problem. My role was to keep people away after the house fire, just make sure everybody was safe. There were a lot of people looking at the damage. But they actually lit this facade on fire, and they also triggered off a couple of explosions. And it was interesting because I was there with another cop friend of mine, and there were key deer, and they roam all over Big Pine. And so those key deer were out there that none of us knew there were going to be explosions. Well, when that happened, the deer, of course, jumped in the air, and they took off. They were okay, thank God. Long Beach Road is kind of a rural, it's a 2.5 mile dead end street. So a lot of people, when they were filming, were coming down there to see all this production. And the crews and it's enormous, the production, the trucks, the trailers, big giant cafeteria tents. The food was amazing where they fed us each night. A lot of equipment, big giants, spotlights. In one scene I was in, there was a thunderstorm, and we're like, well, how are they going to do that? And they brought these big giant poles and shot water through. So the water was torrential water coming down, and then they had these big machines that flashed like the lightning. So you'd hear this crack of thunder. You'd see the lightning and the crack of thunder at the same time. It looked just like you were in a real thunderstorm. But Long Beach Road, what ended up happening, there were so many people coming out to see Vince Vaughn into production, that they ended up putting real Monroe County sheriff cars at the beginning of Long Beach Road. I was not on scene one day, and I like to ride my bike through there sometimes, and I came down, and the cop, he stopped me, he said, "You're not allowed back there." And I'm like, "But I'm an extra back there, I just ride my bike." he did give me a break, so I did go back. And I went, said hi to everybody and came back out. But it was a lot of fun. Like I said, and interesting to do that movie. So we're hoping that will come out shortly.